Hello and welcome to another Purveyor of Light Photoshop quick tip. Today we're going to just have a little fun, I think. Maybe do a little creative edit here. And just, like I said, have fun. Be creative. Sometimes we get caught up in doing all the technical things. Sometimes we forget to just have a little fun. So, I selected this photo here and I just, let's make this a creative edit of sorts. So I'm just going to go with my thoughts as I go along, take you along for the ride, and we'll see what we'll wind up with. Okay, I think it's a really cool photo. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the background, Command and Control J. Alright, so we'll get that in here, Command and Control J, and now we have a duplicate layer. Alright, and so I'm going to turn off the background layer. And I am going to select the subject. I want to isolate the subject from this background. So I'm going to go select, and then I'm going to say subject, and we'll see how Adobe does. And looks like a pretty good selection to me. And perfect. So now with that selected, I'll hit Command and Control J, and that'll pop this on a new layer. And there we are. Now the subject is on a separated layer, okay? Because I'm thinking about doing a dispersion effect on this of sorts, displacement, spattering paint as they call it. So that's what I've been envisioning here. So I need to take the duplicate of the background, and I need to do some distortions. So I'm going to go up to Filter, and then I'm going to go to Liquify. And now that I'm on Liquify, I'm going to be on the first tool, okay, which is the Warp tool. And I'm just going to drag out some warpature here, okay? And again, there's no right or wrong, just be creative, okay? Just look for it that way. There we go. And we're okay. So hit OK. And so now we have this distortion with the subject still on the back. And now we're going to take a mask and mask this distortion away so we don't see it. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select a new mask. And I have that there. And now I want to invert the mask so that we don't see anything. So Command and Control I. And that converts it to black. Okay, and now we just have the subject. And now we're going to turn around and take a brush, and you can use whatever brush you have. I'm choosing a spatter type brush, okay? You can use whatever you like to work to get your effect. There's no right or wrong. I'm going to use this, and I'll size it up big and small depending on how I want it, and I will just start tapping in white, okay? We got to paint in white. We got to be on the mask. And I'm just going to start spattering. Okay, I can do strokes and just keep doing a spatter. Okay, and there's no wrong, there's no right. It's all what you're doing. Okay, you're going for an effect. So place that in there. Okay, now that looks pretty good, but it's not quite. It has to affect her on the edge. So I need to go to the subject layer. I need to put a mask on it, and this time I have to paint in black, switching the colors here to black, and now I've got to just touch her on the edge, okay, so where she disperses. So come in here like she's dissolving, and just come in and do it. And if for whatever reason you don't like the effect, all you have to do is just fill this mask back up with the color. So if I wanted to undo this, I could just simply fill it with white. Okay, and that'll give us an undo. So, okay, I'm liking this so far. It's getting interesting. What I need here is, I need a little bit of motion, I think. So going back on the dispersion layer that we liquefied, okay, on the mask, okay, very careful, make sure you know where you're working. On the mask, I want to put some motion into this, so it's not so much spattering, but it's actually, like it's moving, spreading. So I'm going to use a filter blur. Filter, and then I'm going to blur, and then I'm going to do motion blur. Okay? And now, with motion blur up, I'm going to just increase it until I get the effect that I want. See how I give that motion? So that it gives it a motion look. The more I do, the more motion it gives, okay? So, again, no right or wrong. Just determine what you like. I'm going to go very little. Okay, and I think that's a nice motion blur there. And there we are. Okay? So, that's looking pretty good. I'm liking the effect. It's creative. But we need to get a background back on. And so we're going to need to turn around and come down to the very bottom and then go down to the very bottom here and select a gradient. Okay? And we're going to select any color you like, you want to work with, you think it's going to look cool with this photo. Okay? Put a gradient in it. Try different ones to give that cool effect. It's up to your creativity completely. And let's see. I'm kind of liking that. That's kind of cool. I think I'll go with that gradient. And so now I have a gradient on it, and that's looking pretty good and creative. Now, the next thing is I'm liking it, but I'm not loving it. So I'm going to take the distorted layer with Liquify, and I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hit Command and Control J again, duplicating this, because I wanted a little bit stronger effect. See how I click that on and off? It makes it a stronger effect. Maybe I want to turn around and even do a multiply, all right, or a color burn. I just go through them and just see what I like. Okay, no wrong or right, but I'm just going to go with multiply. I think that looks very good. So there we are, and then we have this distortion effect. And now it would just be a matter of working with the photo, seeing what you like, what you don't like, okay? And again, deciding what it was, what we started with is we could just take a look. There's what we started with, and here's our creative edit from there. And I think we made a pretty cool creative edit. And again, the more you work with it, the more you have your own, introduce your own talent into it, you're going to come up with a creative edit. And I think that's going to do it for us this week. Again, there was really no purpose other than using some basic editing techniques, using a spattering brush. And I think it's a pretty cool little bit of blurring. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. I could almost turn around and put a blur on this. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm going to try it just for the heck of it. On the mask, and I'm going to go filter and blur and motion blur. And you see how that blurs the subject distortion? And I think I'm liking that. I'm going to increase it, see how it looks. I'm actually liking that. I'm going to keep it. So there we go. So now I put some motion blur onto the actual subject disintegration, and I think that looks pretty good. So there we go. I'm going to call that one done, and that's my creative edit for this week. Guys, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you next week.